Hey, Living Pain here. Day 333. What to report? Well, let's start off with the good news. Oh, she was a good day. A lot of good news today. Weighed in at 201.6. So I'm back to 35.4 pound weight loss. So I think in the last 7 days, I've been at least 3 of those days in the 35 or lower. So for sure, I'm at that 35 pound loss. And I think a big part of it is I've been kind of on the straight and narrow for the last couple of days. Yesterday I ate about 1,500 calories. Today I was at 1,400 and change. And then I had to go for a car ride. And I've just been working all day, working more hours than I want to work. And I think it was like about 6:30, 7 o'clock. Just had something to eat. And your mind's just, spinning around. And I said to Alice, you want to go for a car ride? I need to get out of the house. So we went for a car ride and we went through a city called Hamilton, which isn't that far from us. And there was this grocery store, kind of a independent. We'd never been there before. And with COVID, everything is shut down. So I said to Alice, hey, you want to go to a grocery store that we haven't been to and just walk around and see what it's like? What else are you going to do? We didn't need to buy anything, but it's just something to do. So she goes, yeah, let's do it. So pull in, start walking around. Really cool place. Actually, I'm glad we went through because this place, they had brisket, huge brisket. And I have a smoker that I bought last year. And brisket, where I buy it from here, where I live, can be pretty expensive. And I think, a big brisket here was like $150. And they had a huge one there for like $70, $80. They had some smaller ones, which were still huge for $60. So anyway, it was worth the stop because definitely come summer, I'm going to be going there for brisket. Place is called Loco. L-O-C-C-O-C-C-O. Not that it matters, but it's Loco. When I was there, though, I was talking about the calories. So there's around 1,500. When I was there, I look on the shelf, and there's this popcorn that I'd never seen before. And you know how much I love popcorn. So, of course, they had different flavors, dill and some caramel. And then, of course, I'm always looking on the back, right? This one is 300 calories. I found another flavor that was 200. And then the original was like 170 calories. So I figured, you know what? Let's buy it. So I bought it. Awesome popcorn. As a matter of fact, it's probably a 30-minute drive from my house, and the popcorn's so good that I definitely can see myself driving there for 2 things. One, for brisket and anything to put on the smoker, and number 2 is for the popcorn. And I'm not joking. Now, the thing is, the popcorn, though, big mistake. I started eating it and I forgot it had salt in it. And as you can see, I've got a bit of a cold sore here again, which I mentioned to you the other day. This is like the second cold sore in the month. And I rarely, I get cold sores once a year, maybe twice a year. And to get 2 cold sores in the same month is horrible. At least this one isn't as bad as the other one, which blistered all up and all that sort of nonsense. The thing is, it's stress. I know it is, and I think it also relates to my calf. There's a book out there from a Dr. Sarno. And he has this theory. He's a guy who's been dealing with back pain, and he's world renowned. He was on ABC 2020. And his theory is that most back pain starts here. There's issues going on, and it manifests itself somewhere in your body. And I totally believe it. And I can prove it because ever since I was the age of 15 years old, I had back problems. And I mean crippling back problems where you couldn't move, or to get out of bed hurt, and it would take a week for my back to heal. And, you're going to chiropractors and all this other stuff. And what his theory was and is that when you get these pains that are manifesting in you, and it could be your back. It used to be my back. Now it seems to be going to my calf and cold sore. So when these things happen, what he says is to reflect, take a look at yourself, look inward and ask yourself, what's not going right in my life right now? There's something that if I'm not going to address it, obviously it's addressing itself and, putting pain or, slowing you down to a certain degree. And his theory for me works. And I know it works for thousands of people as well. And it's all about, if that happens, I start reflecting and go, okay, whoa. What's going on in my life right now that I need to stop and I need to think about it and work through it? And sometimes it's just identifying what some of those issues are, and then lo and behold, boom, the pain quickly goes away or it doesn't appear. So what I'm finding is my back, I rarely get a bad back. I think, it's been years and years, maybe 10. But my calf is an area after my back was healed, or it didn't manifest itself in my back, it started moving itself to my calf. And I think, the calf issues that I've been having for the last 6-8 months has definitely been here. And even tonight, right now I'm rolling my calves, I'm wearing compression socks, and I can just tell the way I'm walking and everything else that I'm just tense. And now, you get a cold sore, you feel tense in your calf, maybe the back of your neck feels a little bit tense, and you just know something's not right. So right now I've been thinking, okay, what are the issues? And I think I know what it is. So I'm dealing with it, and once I do, everything will kind of get back to normal as normal is. And I definitely would need to get it back to normal where I'm not putting undue pressure on myself or stress, that when I start my training for the half Ironman March 15th, that it causes me any sort of injury or anything like that. In terms of a little story, I want to tell a little story. Yesterday I talked about the Ironman and how the first time I saw it on Wild World of Sports, I'm 17 years old and drunk and fat and out of shape, having a cigarette on the couch. Up comes the Ironman, I'm watching it, and I look over to Alice, who was my girlfriend at the time, and I go, I could do that. Yeah, that's nothing, I could do that. And she didn't believe me, and eventually I ended up doing it. So the story, I want to continue it a bit in terms of, that's when I said I could do it, but I didn't get up and decide, okay, I'm going to start training and pull a Rocky, Balboa or anything like that. It took a little while. So I was 17, I was in high school playing football, my weight's getting up. And just to put it in perspective, I've gained and lost 50 pounds. I'm going to say a minimum of 4 times, maybe 6 times. I've lost count. Prior to meeting Alice when I was 16 and a half, I went from 100 and I started pumping iron, right? It's like when you're 16 years old, 15, 16, you want to get big. I used to be skinny like a rail, started working out at the gym, the YMCA, with all the big bodybuilder guys, and they said, hey, if you want to get big, you got to take this bulk up, it was called. And me and my buddy, who were both thin, and if I was to go back in time, I wouldn't have taken that bulk up. I think you put a few scoops in. It was like 4,000 calories, and I remember vividly, like it was yesterday, that I'm taking this stuff, we're working out, and then one day I'm in the shower and I look down and I see a little belly. I'm like, I've never had a belly before, and then I've never not had a belly since. And it was that just eating that bulk up. So here I am, high school, got bulked up, got into football, and got out of high school and basically 50 pounds overweight. I digress. Before I met Alice, I was 50, lost. Then I met her, high school, gained another 50, played football, blah, blah, blah. And then I decided to lose again. And this is where the story begins of how I finally decided I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to lose the 50 pounds, and how I did it, and then how I transitioned into an Ironman. So basically, in high school, I went to a Jesuit boys high school, and I think, if I wasn't the only one that didn't go on to post-secondary, there was not many more. There was less than 5. Might have been 3, could have just been me. Went to a good school, everybody went to post-secondary, and back in the day, going to university was really important. At that point, it was like, if you don't have a university degree, you're not going to get a job. And for me, school is not for me. Sitting in a classroom is not for me. Tough time. I'm not that. I need to do and learn by my own mistakes and stumble and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I had a lawn care business. I started at 16 and a half when I met Alice, and in high school, man, I think we had like 10, 12 employees, and I was just wanting to get out of high school. That was it. So I get out of high school, we're doing this lawn care, you're cutting grass, all that. The problem, which was also a benefit, is when you have a lawn care company in Winnipeg, it snows half the time of the year. So you're working summers, but you're doing nothing in the winter. So I ended up getting a part-time job over the winter delivering newspapers. And and back in the day, they used to have paper boys and paper boys. There wasn't paper girls at that point. But then they transitioned to what they called adult carriers. And it was an experiment for the Winnipeg Sun. And what it basically was a big area. The area was River Heights. And I took over the whole area, and there was myself that did 150 houses, Alice did 150, and the foreman that worked for me did 150. And on the weekend, Sunday edition, it was like 200. So I'm getting to a point here. So here we are, winter, I'm 50 pounds overweight. And I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I want to start losing some weight. Now, the papers, you're driving your car. So, it's a big area. Drive the car, stop the car. Actually, the Winnipeg Sun had only been around a couple of years at that point. So there wasn't, house. It was stop at a house, drive 10 houses up, stop at a house, drive another 10 up, and all that sort of stuff. So you had your car, middle of winter, 20, 30, 40 below, car's running, you grab a newspaper, you run out of the car, you run, to the house. And in Winnipeg, the snow can be 3 feet deep, 2, 3, 4 feet deep. If it just snowed, people and you're doing this at 4 a.m. Okay, so it's because the paper had to be delivered by 6. So visualize this, that I got 150 houses. I've got these newspapers. It was good money, by the way, too. And I think I was getting paid, just as a sidebar. Back then, for me, I was getting $500 a week. So this was back, 25, 30 years ago. So for delivering papers, 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours a day, or about an hour and a half, 2 hours on the weekend. I was making $2,000 because I was the foreman, and then Alice was making like $350, and my foreman was making $350 a week. So we were doing pretty good. The benefit of this thing was that I would, instead of walking from the car to the house and then walking back, what I do is run. So I get out of the car, run up to the house, put it in the mailbox, run back. And so you can imagine every day for an hour and a half, 6 days a week, and then on Sundays it was probably 2 hours, a little bit more, I would be sprinting basically from the car to the house and then back, and high kneeing it because you're going through snow, so you're high kneeing it. And what happened over that winter was that I dropped 50 pounds. Now, I combined it with dieting. So I was eating really healthy. You know, the morning would be poached eggs on toast. Like, I was really strict on the diet. And I went from 212 pounds, I went all the way down to 160 pounds. I think the lowest was 158. And come spring, or I guess it was summer, in Winnipeg, they have what's called the Manitoba Marathon. And it's on Father's Day. And I decided, hey, you know what? Why don't I do a marathon? You know, maybe I can do it. So I'd done zero training other than, I guess, the winter, 5-6 months of just running from the car to the house, back to the car, drive the car up 10 houses, drive it up 10 houses, all that sort of stuff. And I signed up for this marathon and never ran a marathon, didn't do any long runs for a marathon, did nothing, other than these run from the car to the house for 6 months. Needless to say, I did my first marathon and I finished in 3:07 and 57 seconds, which I was pretty happy with that. And that got me onto the Ironman stuff. So now I'm thin. I was thin. 160 pounds. Right now, my racing weight, my best racing weight is about 180. So, it's 20 pounds lighter than my best racing weight now. Although I often think, man, if I was 160 and I was racing, I'd be a lot better, or a lot faster. And so that's when I ended up, that year was the marathon. And then I think a month later in July was the very first half Ironman. I signed up for that as well. And the one thing I mentioned 2 days ago, I think, was, and I forgot this part, is that when I signed up for this triathlon half Ironman, I didn't, have a bike. I didn't have anything like that. So I ended up paying $50 for a bike, for a road bike. And I got it from the foreman that worked for me. And he was a bit of, he kind of lived on the dark side. He was a little bit scary sort of a guy. I loved him. And I remember he lived in Winnipeg, there's something called the North End. And he lived in that area. And I was like, yeah, I got to do a triathlon, get a bike. And he's like, what? I can get a bike. Yeah, what kind of bike you want? And I go, well, I'm doing this triathlon. Yeah, don't worry about it. I can get you a bike. And so he came back with this Nishiki. It was a little bit small, like it wasn't the right size for me. It was smaller, but it was $50. And I didn't ask any questions, but I'm pretty sure that he stole the bike. I was always worried too. I was like, I didn't, ask no questions or whatever, but then I thought, man, I'm going to be out on a bike ride and is someone going to pull me over and say that's my bike? But I don't know for sure. But I think I might have done my first triathlon on a stolen bike that was much too small. Anyway, that's the story that I thought might be a little amusing. Tonight it's already 20 to 11. When I got home, I hadn't done any training yet, so I jumped on my bike, put in an hour, and of course they have these sprints on Zwift, so to see how fast you can go and stuff. And I don't know why I did this, man, but it was only, I think last time, it was a very short sprint. Last time I did it in 21 seconds. And so this time, I don't know, it's just the competitive juices going. I did it in 16 seconds, which I knew I was going a little, like, I got the wattage up to 775 watts. And I figured, oh man, I better pull it back a bit. So I got down to 650. But of course, it's foolish because the heart rate pops up. And then, of course, you have possibility of pulling a hammy or something like that because it was only like the first 10 minutes into the ride. But anyway, I ended up finishing, I think, what was it? 31 out of... I don't know, 1100 or something like that. Anyway, it was pretty respectable. Felt good. That's it for me. Living pain. Hopefully this heals tomorrow. I hope tomorrow, man, that I can set a new record. Oh, I'm so close. Over and out, living pain. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.